Okay, and I will share my screen. So welcome to Spot Solutions SharePoint Online Training, getting the most out of your cloud environment. Today, we're going to talk about how you can get the most out of your SharePoint Online environment. We'll explain a little bit about what SharePoint Online is. We'll talk about the SharePoint fundamentals, working with document libraries and lists, creating and using views for impact for your users, working with metadata, searching and filtering in the system, and folder do's and don'ts. Finally, we'll talk about common challenges and requirements within a SharePoint environment. SharePoint Online is a modern platform, and this is going to be a little bit of an interactive session. The goal with SharePoint Online is to ensure that you have access to your content and collaboration spaces and to create a holistic, modern workspace. So why choose SharePoint Online? SharePoint Online provides you with access anywhere, anytime, as long as you have an internet connection. As a fully mobile-enabled service, SharePoint Online is accessible through your mobile device as well as through your tablet or laptop computer. SharePoint Online integrates with Microsoft 365 applications and tools, as well as many other applications and tools from non-Microsoft vendors, right out of the box and by default. And finally, SharePoint Online is a modern platform that provides modern, robust collaboration features and tools to help move you and your business forward. SharePoint Online brings a modern digital workspace to your organization, connecting and collaborating with team members, partners, regulators, and customers, giving you effective tools to meet modern challenges. So, what are some of the key features of the SharePoint Online environment? Site pages are used to display information to different groups or audiences in a dynamic and visually driven way. It integrates with other Microsoft Office and 365 applications, as well as third-party tools like Salesforce, Jira, Google Docs, and many, many more. It allows us to implement workflows to review, approve, share content, or move business processes forward. It provides co-authoring and group editing tools to bring content collaboration into the future. No longer waiting for somebody to complete their edits before you can start yours, you now have the opportunity to work together, editing a document at the same time and sharing comments while you do. Out of the box, customizable reports and visualizations of data through Power BI and the Power Platform automatically link into the SharePoint Online space and give you virtual interactive and compelling reports that help you to better understand and dig into your business. You can leverage metadata for more powerful reporting, automation, and content management. Make sure people understand what your content is and what it's for. Collaborate with both internal and external resources with ease. SharePoint Online provides robust sharing features for external employees like contractors or partners, as well as internal employees who actually work for your organization. Automate business processes and build notifications to ensure no deadline or activity is missed. Through modern lists, templates, automations, and much more, you can actually create a process that ensures your employees never miss a deadline or never forget that something is due. It's a fully mobile enabled platform. SharePoint puts your content in your fingertips anywhere, anytime. With SharePoint Online, whether you're visiting your grandmother in Peggy's Cove and you need to get online quickly, or whether you're halfway across the province and you're at a truck stop, you can open up your tablet, you can open up your laptop, you can borrow a computer at the library or your friend's house, or you can use your own phone in order to connect through the online cloud environment, but it's still secured. You still have the confidence to know that your username and password and other credentials, including multi-factor authentication if implemented, are there to ensure that your content is kept safe. So we're talking a lot about metadata today, and I want to kind of go through why we don't want to use folders as often in the SharePoint Online environment. Folders segregate our content. When you leverage folders to build your structure, you'll find that those folders mean that you have the same document in multiple locations because sometimes a file can be related to more than one thing. This builds risk that you'll have a mismatch of content or that some of the content that you're working with won't actually be found when looking for it by search. Folders don't add any long-term value to the content that you have. Visually and in the moment, we feel like they build a great structure and we can kind of see what those folders represent in terms of information. But the challenge with folders is the moment I take my document out of the folder, all of the context that that folder added is lost. If I have to email a file to somebody outside my organization and I do that, well, as soon as I do that, the folder structure content context that I've given to that file is gone. Folders add no direct content to the value, and they actually reduce the relevance of our content in search. Every layer of folder deep that the document may be contained in lowers the relevance of that particular search result in the algorithm. It assumes that more important information is closer to the top. So the more folders you use, the less likely you're going to find the document you're looking for at the top of your search results. It'll still come through the search results, but you're not going to be able to see it right at the top of your results. And URLs have a maximum character length. And that's not a Microsoft thing or a SharePoint thing. That's a universal truth about how that URL technology works today. So folders add all of the characters of the folder name before the URL in your file path. So your file path is going to start with your SharePoint portal, the site that the document is in, the name of the library the file is in, and then the name of every folder that file is in, all the way till you get to the file name. And if you exceed the maximum character length for the URL, your file will become unopenable. You'll get a message telling you that it is corrupt and can't be opened. Now, the good news is the file isn't corrupt, but computers are smart and not clever. They don't know how to do a gut check, and they can only do exactly what they're told to do. So as soon as the URL extension is cut off, the computer doesn't know how to open the folder file anymore. And the only way to succeed at opening the file now is to rename the folders ahead or move the file out of those folders in order to shorten the URL to the acceptable length. That means that you've lost all the context and the value that those folders gave you in the first place. So if we're not going to use folders, what are we going to do? We're going to use metadata. So what is it? Metadata is used in our daily lives. We use it when we download songs from iTunes or Spotify, and we create playlists using the metadata we've associated with the songs. We have the same song in multiple playlists, in our country playlist and in our Waylon Jennings playlist, as an example. But we don't buy multiple copies of the song, and we don't have to have it more than once. Metadata allows us to build context and allow us to let people know what a file is and what it's for. It's physically applied to the electronic file and becomes part of the file on the Info tab, so that no matter where you send that file, whether you email it out to a third party who has no access to your SharePoint environment, Whatever you do, the context that metadata has added to the file live throughout the entire file's lifecycle. It automatically places your content in the different views that you have set. When an individual uploads a file and tags it with the relevant metadata based on the fields that have been created by the owner of their site, it will automatically slot that piece of content into every single view that it's relevant to. I don't have duplicates. I never worry that somebody else is going to pick up the wrong version, and it's automatically showing in all the ways that I want it to show. This gives me my single source of truth. When content is edited, everybody sees the same edits. When content is superseded, everyone gets the same superseded information. So, views and collaboration in SharePoint are one of the most powerful tools that we're going to use to create a useful environment. So, how do we do that? Modern search provides results from the file name, metadata, and file content. It's actually giving us everything we need within that search. So it uses optical character recognition to actually read the data in your file, and that's why your search results are more powerful. Public views or business views allow you as the site owner to show your content in multiple ways, making navigation quick and easy. Office 365 co-authoring and collaboration tools let team members edit content together and have robust conversations as they're working through their content. Version history provides you with a fully auditable history of all the changes to the content, including who made the change and when. This meets the ISO standards for auditability of your documents and means that you never have to have multiple versions, document V1, V2, V3, because all of the versions are stored within the same file in the version history and can be retrieved or restored if needed. Site pages provide an engaging and modern way to access and work with your content. Site pages allow you to have dynamic, visually driven, interactive navigation tools, and you can have navigation to different views within the same document library right on your site page, leveraging buttons, quick links, or other navigation tools. Mobile access ensures that collaboration happens anytime, anywhere, from your cell phone, tablet, desktop, or laptop. As long as you have an internet connection, you have the opportunity to collaborate and access the information that matters to you. In this way, we create a holistic, complete digital workspace that is managed by a trusted partner in Microsoft. What's the development life cycle of a SharePoint environment? A SharePoint environment goes through several stages on its way to becoming a high performance platform for team collaboration. At each stage within the process, the value and benefits of the system increase, allowing the team to gain confidence in how the system works and generating ideas for how it can be improved. Often teams continue to implement new tools and solutions after achieving a high performance platform, as the needs of their business, clients, and team will change over time. In the beginning, you're going to have just a baseline design. Usually, this is going to be a document library or two, maybe a calendar. It's generally fairly simple. And the goal here is to get used to and familiar with working in the cloud, with being able to access your content via different methods and how that all works. As the baseline design is implemented and people start to use it, we move into real collaboration. People start figuring out better ways to work together in the collaborative space. They start leveraging some of the tools and features available to them. That leads people to measurement and reporting, starting to understand how well they're able to do in the SharePoint platform environment, or the savings or efficiencies they're able to develop using this platform in order to move the business forward. After measurement and reporting, we start to look at bigger enhancements. We've been using tools and features, and now we want to talk about how we can implement more tools and features or other integrated tools and features into the platform that we're developing. And we'll continue to do these steps as we go through, and that leads us to performance as we start to implement enhancements to our system that really meet our needs and give us more and more of what we're looking for. We can actually start to see that high performance team collaboration platform evolve right before our eyes. So now let's take a look at a live demo. This is my spot on SharePoint site. This is a training environment that we've created to give you an idea of some of the things that can be done within the SharePoint environment and to let you see how that environment works. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a folder structure. It's one thing to say folders aren't the best thing to use. It's another thing to show you how that kind of plays out. So in this case, with search in SharePoint Online, when I'm inside a document library, my search automatically filters to give results only from the document library that I'm in. Now, I've set up a fairly standard set of department-based folders here, and inside these folders, I've got some pretty standard subfolders. Some have content, some don't. So when I search this library for report, right off the bat, I'm not getting a lot out of my folder structure because all it's returning to me is these folders called report, but there's no context. So I'm going to hit enter to get my search results right here in my SharePoint space. Within the SharePoint space, my search results are returned in the library and I can see what the results are for. Again, I see all these folders called report, but I have no context. I don't know which department any of these folders are from. And then I see this. This is a bit of a challenge. I have 3 copies of the same document. One was edited 6 days ago, one on Monday, well, 2 on Monday, within a minute apart. Which one is the most current? Which one is correct? Are these ones that were edited on Monday more correct than this one that was done 6 days ago? And on top of that, if I don't do a search, if I'm just hunting and pecking through folders to find my documents, what if I find the old one and not the new ones? So that's a real big challenge when you're dealing with folders, is that tendency to duplicate content and then have that content move out of sync. Now, on the plus side, I have sample 1 and sample 4, and you'll notice there's no metadata in this document library, and none of those documents actually say report in the file name title that they have, but all of them reference the term report inside the content of the document. So as I mentioned earlier, search in SharePoint Online actually uses optical character recognition to read the content in your file, indexing it typically within 10 to 15 minutes of upload. So if you just upload a file and go to search, it's not going to find the content of your file. It does take some time in order to go through the indexing process, but once that's happened, you'll find it. Now I can click on item and it will give me the context I want. I can see now that this is in information technology, it's the report folder, and I can see that sample 1 from 6 days ago is in here. But now I've encountered another problem. Sample 2 and sample 2 category are also in the report folder for information technology, but they did not show up in my search because they don't have any metadata associated with them. They aren't titled with the word report in the title. And on top of that, they don't have the word report explicitly stated in their content. So even though they're in a reports folder, and you or I might look at that and know that they're meant to be reports, The computer doesn't. It says, it doesn't match my search criteria. So relying too heavily on folders is a risk that you will miss search information or miss results in your search when you're just focused on a folder structure. Now, when we talked a little bit earlier about the URL length, there are some things that you can do if you do need to use folders inside your space. And typically, I recommend to use metadata where possible, but hybrids do happen, and there may be reasons why you need to use a folder. Most specifically, folders are useful when you need to secure a particular subset of information to a different set of users, but you don't want to take it out of its main document library. Then you can use a folder to set custom permissions. If you do need to use folders, I generally recommend not using more than 2 layers of folders to keep that very tight. And keep in mind, use common standard abbreviations, MGMT instead of management, info instead of information, HR instead of human resources, ones that will reduce the number of characters that you need to use up, but are going to be clear to everyone. The other thing to remember is that every space between words is represented by a %20 in your URL. That's because there can be no spaces in a URL. It must be a continuous thread of information, and that's the code that indicates a space. So every time you put a space between words in your document library, in your folders, or in your file names, every space is worth 3 of your characters. So especially with folders, where possible, rather than putting a space to separate words, use an underscore. That underscore allows you the visual separation between words you need to make sure that it's still readable and visible, but it only takes up 1 character. Now, we were taking a look at that library, and we took a look at searching for reports. What I'm going to do here is take a look at a document library with the same content, but using metadata instead of folders. So what I did is I created a metadata column called department, and I have the same departments there. And I created a folder called document type that references those same subgroupings that I had. Now, in addition to those tools, I've also been able to add extra information that I simply didn't have available to me within a folder structure. So I have an opportunity to add a reference, so I can add a little bit of extra reference context to documents if I want. That's a single line of text. I have a space for comments and notes. So if I'm collaborating on this document with my team members, we can have a conversation. I have a value and a due date. So let's take a look at how the same search works within this context. Already, I'm getting better predictive information from my search because the folders aren't coming up as the top priority. So now that I have that major item, I'm in a position to be able to hit enter. And you'll see that the context of all of that is together in that same time. Unlike my last one, my department doesn't go away. None of the information that is provided or related when you're working inside a folder structure um, is missing. I can see it all. My metadata just stays with me. So I know what departments it is. I can see, for example, document that has the word report in it and it's tagged with multiple items. But most importantly, I can actually tag a document and say that it is all of these things all at the same time. Now, beyond just using the search capability, I also have the ability, which I don't have inside a folder structure, to sort and filter what I'm looking for. So I can select any value and I can filter and I say, okay, well, I'm looking for policies, procedures, and work instructions. And it tells me right here, this is my library, this is my filter that I've added. I can then go to another column and filter by something else. I'd like to look at presentation examples and a sample, and it's filtering it out. Now I've got all of my filters here, and I could continue to filter this down further and further depending on what I wanted to do. Now, you'll notice that right here where it says by department current year, that's my business view, but it now has an asterisk beside it. That indicates to me that I've made a change to my SharePoint list that only I can see. So in this case, that's showing me that nobody else coming here will see the filtered values that I have. Now, I actually have an option here. If I click that drop down, I can select Save View As, and I can create a personal view. Now, I'm an administrator here, so I have the option to make this a public view or a business view, but I don't want to do that. This is just for me. These are the documents that I'm concerned about. So I can save that view. Anybody else coming in here will not see Tamara's view at the bottom. They'll only see the views that were set up by the site administrator for us. I have access to this view, and I can even take that a little bit further. If I want to be notified when things are happening in this document library, I can click on the ellipses, these three dots, and select Alert Me. Now, you may be familiar with this alert tool if you used SharePoint 2010, 2013, or 2016. It's the same basic premise. It knows who I am, so it's going to set the alert for myself by email. Some organizations do choose to enable SMS for text messaging, but most don't. Usually an email is sufficient, and we'll leave it at that. And then I decide, what do I want to be alerted about? Do I want to know only when something new is uploaded? Do I only want to know when something is modified? Am I mostly concerned with content being deleted, or do I want to know when any of those actions have been completed? And then we get the send alerts for these changes, and you have different options. Anything changes, someone else changes a document, so I don't want to receive an email alert when I make an edit because I know that I'm doing that. If somebody changes a document that I created, I want to know if somebody's editing my content, or if somebody is changing a document that I was the last person to edit. But the most interesting one to me is when someone changes an item that appears in the following view. So I can actually say, I want to know whenever anything happens for past due items. I want to know whenever anything is added to the finance and administration view. I can have that send me a notification immediately, or I can have it send me a daily summary. Usually, I don't suggest using a immediate notification unless the item that you're working with is something like a request, in which case you'd want to be notified right away. But I prefer a daily summary because that gives me one email that I decide what time of day I'm going to receive it. And that one email will include information on all of the different changes in a single source. That email includes a link to the content that has changed or to the location or library, the name and time of the person who made the change, and what the change was. Once you've set your alert, you'll receive an email letting you know that that alert has been successfully created, and you can go ahead and wait to receive your email. If you set an email for a daily alert or a daily summary, you'll receive that summary at the time you specified for the prior 24-hour period. If you choose a weekly summary, you'll receive it on the day and time of the week that you set, and that will actually cover the last 7 full days. Here is my email notification. I've successfully created an alert for sample library. I can see it. It's been added to Spot on SharePoint. I'll get that information, and I can always change the status of this alert by clicking My Alerts on this site. And I can do that directly from this email or right from the site by clicking on the ellipses again and saying Manage My Alerts. So I can see that I have 2 alerts daily on the sample library. If I click on one, it will actually open that alert and I can make changes to it. This is the one I just created to finance and administration. I could change that to only notifying me when new items are added and select OK, or I can simply delete the alert if it's no longer needed. Once I've deleted the alert, I can see that that alert is gone and I don't need to worry about it anymore. Now let's talk about how we might use lists and libraries. In my site contents, I'm going to go and take a look at all of the items that I have here. One of the items that I have is my list management example. This list provides me with access to some information about projects. If I want to create a new item in the list, I'm just going to select New, and I can actually start typing in all of the information that I want about this item. Project number, now in terms of project description, this is a rich text box. If I click the edit, it will open that up for me and I have the opportunity to put in my text. I've got some different tools, including alignment, hyperlinks, clear formatting, or even inserting an image. So once I have my image address that's uploaded, I can go ahead and paste that in, and that will automatically pull through. I can clear formatting to remove any formatting that I have done. I can add an indent, etc. So I can work through that. Once I select Save, that automatically displays and is done. In terms of responsible, we have a person or group. So I'm actually able to assign this to an individual person. By default, my status is submitted, but I can say that it's in progress. I can use the date picker to choose a due date. And since the sign-off status is not complete, that will stay blank. I can also attach items directly to my item. I see that item right at the bottom. All of that information is available. And in my comments or notes, I've appended to text. So with this one, when I click on that, I have the option to select Edit All. And in comments or notes, I can add my appended comment and select Save. What I'm going to see for this item when I view the entries now is this comment is date and time stamped. It cannot be edited by myself or others. If I edit this item and I add a new comment, that new comment is also date and time stamped. There is no way for me to edit any of those other changes. I've added all that content. I select Save. And that's now what that looks like. So when I go back to my list management example, if somebody's looking in there, they have the option to append to text. In addition to that, if I want to have information associated or a comment made about a list item that isn't part of the list item itself, there's an example of an image, I can add comments beside. So once I've sent that item, it becomes a comment, but it is not part of the actual content of the list. Now, when I'm working with lists, I can actually export this to CSV or Excel workbook. Most of the time, you want to export it to a workbook. So once I've got it, I'm just going to do that one more time. So I'll want to enable the content and automatically have that content open. Now I see all of the information that came out of my list in a table format, a query table. And I can actually summarize that with a pivot table, add some different pieces of information, and create whatever kind of a pivot table that I want to do. Here's where it gets really interesting. I can build my pivot table, my chart, my graphs, any other information I want from this table information. And right here, you'll notice that there's an unlink button. Don't click that. If you look at properties, this query is connected to your SharePoint list. And if I want, I can just open it in the browser and it will open the location where that content is. And I can select refresh. So if I go ahead and create charts, graphs, pivot tables, etc., and I click refresh next month, it will automatically pull in any new entry items in my list into the table area and automatically refresh my charts and graphs and pivot tables with that new information. So in effect, I can create a report and I can spend a few hours getting really nice images, charts, graphs, etc. put in place. And then on my regular reporting schedule, I just click refresh and it adds that item back in. Let's try it and take a look. We'll add a new item really quickly. So there's my new item. Now if I come in here and I select refresh, another new project just got added to my table area and the formatting is complete. Now you can do this also with a document library. It doesn't need to be a list that you're using when you do an export. So if you want to export a document library, you'll get almost exactly the same thing. The primary difference primary difference is along with all of the metadata associated to that document library, you'll also have a column that has the file name with a hyperlink to that content. So you could always open a document simply by clicking on that file name, and it's actually going to open over here on my other screen. And so there's that file got opened. So you can review and actually look at the content that you're reviewing from a document library. Now, let's talk about how we share content. SharePoint Online allows you to share content between groups, internally and externally, depending on the configuration your organization has set up. Selecting an item allows you to share from a number of different locations. I can share from this sharing icon or this sharing icon up here, or come on here and select share. When I click share, you're going to see certain system defaults that are based on what your organization has set up. In Spot, people inside Spot Solutions with the link can edit. So this, by default, is only allowing me to share this item with somebody who works inside my organization. I can click on that link and I'll have some other options. I can share it to people with existing access, in which case I'm not giving them access, I'm just sending the link. Or if I need to share with somebody outside my organization, I can choose to share with specific people. Only the person who I send this link to will be able to use the link in their email. If they forward that email to somebody else and that person tries to use the link, it will not work for them. Many organizations deactivate the anyone with a link sharing feature because that is truly anonymous and absolutely anybody could use the link to access your content. Some of the baseline settings, by default, you're allowing a user to edit an item. If you don't want them to edit it, if it's meant to be read only, you can uncheck the editing and you'll have the option to block download. So by default, somebody with read access can open this document, which happens to be a Word document, in Microsoft Word. If I don't want them to be able to use the save a copy feature in Word to save this to their desktop, I can select block download, and that will force my user to only be able to view the content within the web app or the browser. If I am allowing editing, then I have the opportunity to decide whether they're going to be opening in review mode. That's only available when sharing a Word document, but because Word offers review mode, you have that option. Once I select apply, I can start typing the name of the person that I want to share this with. And in this case, I'm sharing it to my own external email. And it's going to let me know that this is outside my organization. So you always have that warning if you're trying to share something internally or externally. So I also have the opportunity to pop a message in here. And then I can send. That sends the email link to the recipients that I've identified and gives them the access I specified to that content. Now, what about uploading content? There's a couple different ways to upload information. So, for example, in one case, I can simply upload a file. It'll let me know what's uploading. And because I have automatic items, it's letting me know right now, or required fields, letting me know right away that the document is missing some information. So I'll select Edit All and provide that information. And once I've selected Save, that document is now available to me. Now that's uploading a single file, but I might want to upload more than one file. So if I come in and I upload several documents, and you'll note some of these have already been uploaded. I want you to see what happens when I do that. I can actually drag and drop. If I drag and drop over a folder and the folder is outlined with a dotted line, I'll be putting this content into that folder. I want to put it where the library itself is outlined in the dotted line. So now I can actually watch the status, and it's telling me, hey, a bunch of those documents already exist. So it's uploaded some that were new, but for the ones that exist, what do I want to do? So I can replace and make this a new version of sample 2. I can keep both, and it will add a number at the end of this to indicate my computer name, or I can X out and it simply will not upload the items that I've identified. So 5 items weren't uploaded, and that's okay. You'll notice I've uploaded these 2 items, and they both require information. If I select 2 items at the same time and open the details pane, instead of tagging just one item, I'm given the opportunity to use what's called bulk edit. When I bulk edit, that means that I'm actually going to update the same information across the board for all of my selected items. So I can come in and say that this is communications, and I can say that these are invoice and other. Give it a little bit of an information and select save. It automatically applies that to the 2 documents that I have selected, and I can work with that. The final way that you can edit content is by selecting the Edit in Grid View. Editing in Grid View provides you with an Excel style interface, a datasheet interface to edit your content. And please note, datasheet is the only way that you can add metadata to folders. So I can come in here and I can pick some information. I can even Control C, Control V to copy and paste. I can autofill, just like you can autofill something in Excel, and that automatically fills out. Once I've completed any of these, now when you make changes in Datasheet View, the change is immediate. It happens right away as soon as you've tabbed out. But you do have an undo button. So if you make a mistake, you can undo and redo that item. And now my content has been updated as per that setup. So the final way that you want to look at your document library is looking at the new bar. The owner of your site or your administrator can create templates for you to use that will allow you to create documents directly inside your SharePoint instance. So if I select the idea tracker, it's going to automatically open this up. By default, it's going to give it a name book 1. I'm going to click on that to give it a new name. And that automatically saves that right into that space. Now I can work here in Excel if I want. I don't prefer that. So I'm going to open it in the desktop app. And I've got my item. Now notice right up here at the top, I have required properties on my document library. and I have to update those properties before I can save it, but it gives me that option. So I can select Edit Properties, and here on the Info tab are all the properties associated with this document library. I can click on that Show Details, and it's going to open up a little window and give me the opportunity to go ahead and put whatever I want in. All of those are then updated right here. You'll notice it's just saving it. Autosave is on. I can go ahead and make whatever changes I want. And that's happening. Autosave is on, and I can go ahead and close that file. You'll notice all of the items changed in the web view once I close that. To exit the web view, I don't want to close this tab. If I just close this tab, this document may say that it's locked for editing by me for between 5 minutes and 30 minutes. Instead, you're going to click the drop down, go to Sample Library, and that closes it out without adding a browser cookie. And you can actually come over and see that the new document has been created right there. Now, there are many other things that we can share with you and show you about SharePoint Online, but right now we wanted to kind of keep this to an hour and give you a good foundation to begin with. We'll come out with another video that will get into some of the other functions and features in the future. Thank you very much for your time.